Up in the conference preview series, we have the ACC Coastal Division. So we got 7 more teams in this division. Today I'm going to be going over every one of these teams and my first thoughts on them for the 2019 season. Of course, we are still very early on in the offseason, only just getting into February now. So we still have several months to go. These are just first thoughts. Of course, we don't know really about who's still going to the NFL and who is going to be sticking around for their senior year, but today I'm just going to go over all these teams and who they're going to be losing and my expectations for them. We'll be starting off with Virginia Tech. They went 6-7 last year. It's a disappointing 2018 season. They got off to a great start. Got ranked in the top 15 for a couple weeks, I believe. And I mean, I expected big things from Virginia Tech. After the way they played at the beginning of last season, I thought truly that this would be a team to watch out for last season. But then they had that Old Dominion game, and that's kind of where they started to fall off. And so, they ended up going 6-7. They returned Ryan Willis at quarterback, but do lose Peoples at running back. So that's a pretty big loss for them. They lose 3 starting offensive linemen, and the only loss on defense is 1 defensive lineman. So really, offense is taking a hit by losing Peoples. But really, I mean, I think this team is going to be very improved in 2019. Should be a great season for them. Look forward to be seeing some much better things. I mean, they are losing 3 starting offensive linemen, but really offensively, they return all their receivers, I think, except for a backup or 2. And of course, they get Willis back, who has tons of potential, I think. And then they only lose 1 running back, which, of course, that is a hit, losing people. But especially on defense, only 1 defensive lineman. That is huge. And that's going to be very impactful. I think their defense should be one of the better ones in the Coastal Division next year. But yeah, big improvements in 2019 coming for this Virginia Tech team. If they can get off to a fast start and keep that, I believe that this could be a team that no one's really even talking about. But they could be a team to make a run for the Coastal Division. Really, I think that every team in the Coastal Division next year has a chance at being a division champion. I mean, because all these teams are very similar. But anyway, now on to Georgia Tech. They went 7-6 last year. Lose Taquan Marshall and 2 main running backs, 1 offensive lineman, and Brad Stewart. That is huge. They're losing 3 major defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 1 cornerback, and a safety. This is really a team that is being wiped out by players leaving. They're losing their starting quarterback, 2 main running backs, a main receiver, 1 offensive lineman, and then defense doesn't get much better. So this is really, best scenario for Georgia Tech next season, I'd say, is to get to a bowl game. I mean, it's going to be tough for them to get to 6 wins, I think, next year. They're just going to be too young, and they're going to have so many inexperienced players. It's going to be really rough, I think, for Georgia Tech. I expect probably they're going to be in last. They may finish last in the Coastal Division next year. I hate to tell it to you guys who are Georgia Tech fans, but I'm expecting probably 3 to 4 wins next season for Georgia Tech. So I kind of want to hear what you guys think about this team, because this is kind of an unpopular opinion. From what I've seen on the internet so far, people are saying that Georgia Tech could be a team that still could contend, but I don't really see it next year. Miami's next. They went 7-6 last year. Kind of surprised at how they did after a great season before in 2017. But the thing is, though, I don't think it's going to get much better next year for Miami. They lose Malik Rozier at quarterback, 3 offensive linemen, Darrell Langham. That's huge as well. Lose 2 defensive linemen, 2 backup linebackers, 1 safety and cornerback. So that is huge. They lose a decent amount of players that could be pretty impactful for them. Same, better or worse in 2019. I think they're going to be a little worse. I hate to say it, but I think that losing their quarterback Rozier, he did pretty well. We saw him and he did some good things. He didn't do as well as I think he could have. But of course, we'll have to just see how they do next year. I don't think it's going to go too well. I think they're probably going to get to 5 or 6 wins. Don't expect them to do a whole lot better. Next up, we have North Carolina. Kind of a team that's been really down over the last 2 years, ever since Trubisky left for the NFL. They return almost the entire offense, though only one starting wide receiver is out and one backup offensive lineman as well. Lose one starting defensive end, three backup defensive linemen, and then lose only one linebacker and safety. And I think this is going to be a team that improves drastically in 2019. I mean, when you're returning your entire offense, that is the thing that's really key, because now you got more experienced players and they know a little bit more of what they're doing. So that's really going to help this team. Are they going to make a bull run? I don't think they will next year. I think they could get to 5 wins. It's very possible for them to get to 4 or 5 next season. I don't expect them to go 2-10 again. Of course, they lost one game because of the hurricane back a couple months ago. But North Carolina, once again, should be a team that improves greatly in 2019. Next up, we have Virginia, 8-5 last year. Returned Bryce Perkins at quarterback. That is huge. They lose Ellis, 2 receivers, and offensive linemen, and 1 tight end. So they do take a couple hits on offense, but at least they return Perkins at quarterback. Only hit on defense is 4 linebackers, which 4 linebackers, that is a pretty big hit, of course, because now you have to put in all new linebackers. However, on the rest of the defense, I don't believe they were losing anyone else. So that's a great sign for Virginia. Defense will be better, and I think they're going to be one of the better ones, because they're going to have one of the better defense in the Coastal Division. Could they win the ACC Coastal in 2019? It's really going to be competitive, I think. I don't think that the best team in the Coastal Division next year probably won't be very good. I probably expect them to probably get to 8 or 9 wins. I don't think we're going to see any really big standouts from the Coastal Division next year. I think Virginia definitely has a great shot at it. I mean, 8-5. I think they're going to improve next year. I think they really genuinely do have a shot at winning the division. They are my favorites right now. Next up, we have Pittsburgh. They won the division last year. They went 7-7. Returned Kenny Pickett at quarterback. That is huge. They do lose both their main running backs, so that is going to be a big hit for them. Lose 4 offensive linemen, 1 receiver, and then they lose 2 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker, and then 1 safety. So offense takes huge hits. That is, of course, 4 offensive linemen, 1 receiver, and both main running backs. That's a rough time for Pitt. And then, but on defense, looks a little bit better. Even though they do lose 2 defensive linemen, I believe both of those losses are starting. So that's something to note for Pitt. Could they contend in the ACC Coastal again? Really, every team in the Coastal Division, as I said earlier, has a chance to win it. Except for probably North Carolina and Georgia Tech. But yeah, definitely Pitt has another chance at it. I still think Virginia probably will win it. Like Duke they went 8-5 last year. They finished last season in 6th of the Coastal Division. It's kind of tough to finish it. It's kind of tough to finish the division 8-5 and finish 6th. I think it's mainly because they went 3-5, I believe, in conference play, so they didn't do too well there. They lose 3 main receivers, possibly Jones. Don't know about him yet. He may be leaving for the NFL. Lose 3 offensive linemen, 1 tight end. Only loss on defense is 2 linebackers, so offense takes hits for sure. Losing their 3 main receivers and possibly Jones, which would make it even worse. But then 3 offensive linemen as well is another big hit. Defense, though, should be improved for Duke next year. Watch out for that defense, as they're only really losing 2 linebackers, which, 2 linebackers, that is a loss, but at least you're keeping both your defensive line and most of your secondary. Could they make a run for the Coastal Division? As I said, pretty much every team has a chance to make it. So I think Duke is another contender. They're definitely one of the 4 that I have leading the conference next year. And 2019 outlook should be good for Duke. So that is it for my ACC Coastal Division predictions right now. Of course, once again, we are several months away. So this will be updated eventually within the next few months. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Once again, just a little recap here. I think that Duke, Virginia, and Pitt will lead the division next year, and they're the main schools that I think have the best chance of winning it. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech and North Carolina once again may struggle. However, North Carolina will be very improved, and Georgia Tech has really taken hits, so I don't expect them to be as well. But alright, so that is it on this video. Stay tuned for more. I still have Big Ten and Pac-12 previews to go. So those are going to be coming within the next couple weeks. So thank you guys for watching. So there's some support, and only if you'd like to. I will see you all later.